to the Mind Shift Movement Podcast with your host, Alan Johnson. On this podcast, Alan will be sharing with you empowering, effective, and actionable knowledge within the health, fitness, and mindset space to help you make the progress and growth that you desire from your life so you'll become the very best version of you, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So now, get ready to dive into today's episode.
Hey guys and girls, and welcome to this episode of the Mind Shift Movement Podcast with me, your host, Alan Johnson. And on this episode, I'm going to be speaking to you about a post that I shared the other day. So I shared a post on Facebook and on Instagram as well, and it was like a real short version of my story. Okay, I'm going to read some of it out. Okay, so it started with, so from a very young age, like 4+, I experienced my mum and dad fighting and arguing most of the time. That is what most of my memory from my childhood was. My mum and dad shouldn't have been together. Okay, I'm not going to go too much into it, but they shouldn't have been together. They was always fighting. They didn't love each other, wasn't in love with each other, and they just shouldn't have been together. End of, right? So during childhood and through my school years, I struggled with anxiety. And I didn't realise it at the time because I didn't understand what anxiety was. I didn't understand what depressive feelings were at the time. I just thought that was normal to feel that way because I was too young. Didn't have no kind of guidance or anything back then, so I didn't understand. So there was a lot of times where I felt really alone during my childhood. My dad was an alcoholic, bless his heart, and that's probably where a lot of the arguments at home were stemming from. Okay, my mum left when I was 14 years old. So one morning I got woken up by my mum, and she had her suitcases with her, and she basically said, look, she's leaving that day. Okay, and I was like 14 years old. I was a bit of a terror then anyway, and it was a bit of a shock to me because I was like, well, okay, what happens here? And it was kind of that question put on the spot, like, are you coming with me or are you staying here with your dad? So at the time, didn't know really what to do. I was really young, didn't really understand. So I walked her to the bus stop and I waved her goodbye that day, which was really tough. I can still remember it like it was yesterday within my own mind. But, we stayed in contact. I weren't like she's gone forever, but it was just a bit of a shock knowing that one day I had mum and dad at home, even though they was arguing, that was my normality. Okay. And then all of a sudden, I'm with my dad, who's an alcoholic, and bless his heart, he passed away last year, back in April 2019, and it was tough. It was tough, So got through it, and then at 16, the day I was 16, I got a job. Okay, so I was earning money, which was really great. I needed it, and I decided to not take my GCSEs. So back then, I know a lot of schooling's really changed and evolved and adapted since, it's been 14 years ago, but they wasn't as strict. So I decided I'm not taking my GCSEs, not for me, don't need to do it, whatever else. Then at 17, I moved in with my nan. So I moved to Southend. My nan took me in as if, I was her own child. I suffered many years during my late teens and early 20s with anxiety, feelings of worry and depression. Okay, I used to take drugs and drink excessively. I've had many jobs that I've hated within my life, but then I decided to change my life around. Okay, so now I'm 30 years young, got a beautiful fiance, I've got 2 lovely children. They're not always lovely, but a lot of the time they are. I've got a business where I help people, help them with their mental health, physical health, and emotional well-being. And we've managed to just recently get onto the property ladder as well, which was like a huge goal for us as a family. And for me personally, it's been a goal for 10 years, guys. Literally a very long time. I've always had this thought of getting on the property ladder, and it's finally come true. And it took a lot of graft to get here. So it's been an amazing journey. And then I just ended that post basically with, if life ever feels challenging or tough, then please remember that you can improve your life. And on this episode, I'm just going to try and give you a little bit of a few tips and advice really from what's helped me over the years, right? So sometimes it's like a yo-yo between unbearable emotional pain, so where you keep falling into like this trap where you keep doing like a certain action or habit that you just don't want to do anymore, like eating the rubbish foods, and after you've eaten them, it makes you feel horrible, and you know you're out of shape at the moment. Like maybe you're a couple of stone over where you want to be, and your energy's low, and you just feel unwell, so to speak, and run down. But you're just stuck in that rut where you eat the food, you feel guilty after, and then you say you're never going to do it again, and it's like a habitual circle going on there that isn't serving you. Or with like your job, you keep wanting to go for that promotion, but every time you get to work, there's something that's like affecting you within that environment, so you just don't even bother trying, and then you get home and then you suffer again because you're like, why didn't I even try today? Why didn't I overcome that environment and still try my best? But you didn't, so you're stuck in that unbearable emotional patterns, okay? And it's between that and no, it's okay, I'm fine. So 1 minute it can be like unbearable pain, and then like a few days later or a week later it can be okay again, and it's like a vicious cycle. You're going from one to the other, okay? And that's what can stop us from changing, because like when that unbearable emotional pain is there all the time, that's when like literally we become so fixated on that change, like we desperately want to change, like we're ready. That's when we need it, right? So when the pain becomes strong enough, we will then seriously consider that change, right? You need to have that desire within you to make the progress as well, because if you've got no desire there, you're going to have no energy, no passion behind what the changes that you want to make. So you've got to have the desire, that unwavering desire to achieve the goals that you say you want to achieve, to make the changes that's going to better your life that you say you want to make, okay? And sometimes others around you will try to keep you exactly as you are, okay? And this makes them usually feel better about themselves and their own problems. So and I know all of you listening to this, you're going to have had experiences at least once in your life. I know 100%, okay? Because I speak to clients all the time and they all share similar stories where you get to the point where you've been through so much pain and you're ready to change, okay? You are ready to change, but then all of a sudden, those around you that are family members, so-called friends, associates at work, whatever else, all of a sudden, they see that you're trying to make a change, and they're acting as if they're trying to hold you back. They're trying to pull you back in. And I don't think these people really mean it in a mean way or a harmful way. I just think that subconsciously they want to keep you exactly as they are because that is comfortable for them. Okay, they know you as you are. They become friends with who you are. And I think they just get fearful of you changing and bettering yourself. So don't take it personally when people try and stop you, break you down, not encourage you and stand by you when you're going through times of change. Okay, just try not to take it personally. Another note I've got here is to aim for progress rather than perfection. And I think that's a big one because especially with social media nowadays, like especially Instagram, is that people are portraying like a perfect life story. Some people, okay? If I'm honest, I prefer to share my wins and my challenges, okay? And some might say that I share too much of my life on social media, but do you know what? It helps me personally, sharing challenges, especially in struggles, because it's real. And I think people need to see that, because when other people are going through challenges and struggle, but then they go onto their Instagram account and all they're seeing is like, happiness everywhere and everything going perfectly for other people in their lives. And those same people never share anything go wrong. The person that is in the trenches with stuff going on within their life, it can kick them in the teeth even more, because they're like, well, everything's going all right for everyone else. Why can't it go all right for me? So for me personally, whether it's right or wrong, I like to share my wins, my successes, but I also like to share my adversity, my challenges, and my struggle, because that is real and that's me and that's what I want to continue doing. Okay. So that's it with that, really. So aim for progress rather than perfection. Okay, because perfection isn't necessary. Like life isn't perfect. No one's perfect. We all have our challenges. We all have our struggles. We all have our weaknesses. Okay, so just aim for that progress. Be consciously aware of what you see and hear that makes you feel the emotions that you don't want to experience, such as anxiety, depression, fear, worry. Okay, let me repeat that again. Be consciously aware of what you see and hear that makes you feel the emotions you don't want to experience, such as anxiety, depression, and so on. So what I mean by that is, once you start becoming aware of your feelings, okay, then you can start to think about, okay, what have you been listening to? Who have you been spending time with? What have you been watching? Okay. Have you been at work? Have you been at home? Have you been at the park or at the shops or wherever it is? Okay. Because then you can start figuring out, okay, what's actually making you feel that way? So something that's really powerful, and I suggest this with plenty of my clients, is to keep a thought and feeling journal. Okay, so maybe just checking with yourself like every hour, every 2 hours. You set yourself a time. But hourly is good, just to check in with yourself. It's easy. Do you know what I mean? Like 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock, so on. It's just simple, okay? And just keep yourself like a little book. Don't know if I've got one here. Nope. Just like a little notepad. Checking with yourself. How do you feel? Who have you been spending time with? What have you been doing? Have you been at work? And so on. And then you can start to figure out what you've been seeing, what you've been hearing, is what's making you feel the way that you don't want to feel. Okay, and if you have been struggling with your mindset and your mental health recently, this is a powerful practice that you want to at least try, and promise me right now you're going to try it. So next up, focus on what's within your control and drown out the drama from your life. So I've been there in the past where you can be so fixated on life stuff, that you can't control. It's out of your control. A good example is everything going on with the lockdown and the virus and everything. So people getting upset when we're going through the lockdown and we're not allowed to do certain things. We're not allowed to go certain places. We're not allowed to see certain people. But it's out of our control. The government's controlling that. Okay, so there's no point just putting all of our energy into what's not within our control. What is within our control is our actions, our routines, our behavior. Okay, so that's what we have to focus on, whatever is within our control too. And drowning out the drama in your life, that's just quite a simple one. Like, as soon as you start getting that alarm going off in your head, need this drama alarm, you got to shut it down. I mean, we've had lots going on recently. I'm not going to go into details, even though I'd love to, but I'm not going to go into details. But we've had a lot of stuff going on recently, and it's been hard, but we've got through it. And I always think that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So if you get through the struggle and you grow through the struggle, you're going to come out the other side a stronger person, right? Over the weeks, months and years, you'll be able to look back and be proud of how far you've come. And this is a really powerful one, because at the start of this episode and this Facebook Live, I shared a bit about my story, okay, from the post I shared the other day. And now, do you know what I mean? Going from that kid that, you know, had a broken home, around a real negative environment with parents fighting, screaming. They're not role models. And bless my dad's heart, he wasn't before he passed away, bless him, you know. And my mum still isn't, you know, love them, but they're just not role models, I'm afraid. They just ain't. So growing up with that, and then, you know, doing the stealing, doing the drugs, drinking excessively, not finishing school, and all of this stuff that's you know, adding up, that's going against me. And then I just wanted to improve myself. You know, I wanted to get fit. I wanted to get in shape. I wanted to work on my mind. I wanted to do personal development, and I wanted to work for myself and get on the property ladder and achieve these fantastic goals. So now I can look back and be like, wow, do you know what I mean? It's all been worth it. The struggle, the challenge, the adversity has been worth it. And it will be. But when you're in the trenches and things are going wrong, and, you know, things ain't going to plan, like, you know, you just want to give up. You feel like giving in. But that's the times when you've got to really dig deep, keep pushing forwards, and things will work out for you for sure. Okay? That is it from this episode. Please, as always, if you've enjoyed the content, please go and leave me a 5-star review. It really, really helps, guys. Much appreciated. And I'll catch up with you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Mind Shift Movement Podcast with Alan Johnson. Make sure you join Alan's free Facebook community group, the Mind Shift Movement Podcast Community. Please support the show by clicking subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Share this episode with at least one friend that would benefit from it, and share the episode on your social media stories. Please go and leave us a 5-star review to help us reach out to more potential listeners. And we really look forward to bringing you the next episode.